go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. We're back. It's Sunday evening. As we agreed, it's 5 p.m. And we're here to have a conversation, another conversation with you, Peter and I. Today, we are going to be talking about the role of the diaspora, okay, Liberian diaspora, to be concise. What role do we play? What role other nations have played in respect to the diasporan role in developing a nation? Not just physical development, but intellectual development. What do we bring to the table? That's what we're going to be talking about. And how does that work? We're going to talk to Peter. Is going to give us his perspective, what he thinks based on history, what other nations have done, and what nations are doing now. In fact, we had a conversation this afternoon that we were talking about Ethiopia. Regardless of what is going on in Ethiopia, Ethiopia has been able to, at this point, will be able to electrify their whole nation. They just built a dam. They did not take a loan from World Bank. They did not take a loan from African Development Bank. Okay. And then we're going to go back to Saudi Arabia, the desert kingdom. Okay. How they developed their nation, tapping into the diaspora, not just their diasporan, but knowledge-based people, expertise that they needed with their 5 year plan. So we're going to talk about that, but I'm going to let Peter take it from there. We want to stop the chasing. We want to not change the narratives per se, but bring you in, you bring us in. Let's walk together and see how we can change our nation. Okay. So, Peter.
Yeah. Thanks for the conversation again. It's important that we talk about the only country we have, our home, and not just the place that adopted us, but the place that we can go back to, the one place we can't get deported from. Um, I want us to talk about what form of government we have. Why is that important that we have that form of government, which is democracy? Democracy is just simply a government for the people, by the people. That just means the ideas of people should matter. That's what drives the car. That's the engine. That's the fuel that fuels the country. And if you have a democracy, that means ideas should be put on the table and the best ideas should win out.
Right.
Are we having that? Or do we want a democracy in Liberia? Are we okay with having a democracy in Liberia? Or do we want another form of government? And if we want another form of government, what government is that? And if we don't want another form of government, what's our responsibility in democracy? Um, we're not we're not holding. I don't believe we are holding on to our responsibility as citizens of the country. Democracy requires a population that is very informed. So we can say the education system is broken down in Liberia. True. Okay, so the people aren't people who are there. A lot of them aren't as informed as they should be to have a democracy. But what's the excuse for those of us in the diaspora? What's your responsibility to our country? What should you be doing? What What are some of your things that you can possibly do now? Are you more loyal to a political party, or are you loyal to the development of the country? And I call that political dogma. Um, that's my party. I'll always be a UPN. I'll always be a CDCN. I'll always be an ANC. Or are you for whatever is best for Liberia? So that's the conversation I want us to have tonight. And I literally want us to start from democracy and what is democracy and how is that supposed to help us? And are we using democracy to develop the country? Are voices in the country being heard or are people being silent, especially in a country that is struggling, right? So perspectives should matter. This is when democracy should be at its strongest. Perspectives, because whatever trajectory we are on right now, we can all safely say it's not working for us. If you talk to the lay person in Liberia, some kid, some old person, if they had the opportunity to leave Liberia, that would be their dream. Is that how it should be? Is that the Liberia you want? Is that how it's always going to be? Can that be changed? The fact that people want to leave their home, can that be changed? And what can we do as diasporans to help better the country so that we ourselves don't have to leave and come here or go any other place to pursue our happiness?
Okay. So that is so true. So now you talk about democracy. Let's lay out what is democracy. And when we talk about democracy, let's break it down to our everyday people. What constitute is democracy? Because you have different forms of government. Okay, and it's literally how we organize ourselves to be a nation, to lead ourselves, to move forward. So, Peter, let's talk. I know we talk about that many times, but it does not hurt to bring back home again what is democracy and what type of democracy do Liberia have at this point.
Yeah, so democracy is just a Greek word that is it origins in the Greek language. Demos, Krisi. Demos just means people, and Krisi just means rule.
Are you by
It's,
your code?
hello?
Yeah, we're listening.
Yeah. Democracy is just a government that's ruled by the people. When I say ruled by the people, is we make rules for the general good, right? We make rules so that we know that we have some structure, so that everyone gets to pursue happiness. In a democracy, the people examine their values, okay, their wants and their needs, and they make rules to make sure that the general public, the greater good of everyone, is met. So democracy is a country that's ruled by the majority while they protect the rights and liberty of the minority. So it's just simply a government because every country has to have a government. And the government is just a structure of how we going to organize ourselves. I equate it to having traffic lights. When we come to a stop sign, when the light is red, I know we don't have too many red lights in Liberia, but stop sign. When the light is red, you stop. Other people go. When the light turns green, it's your turn. Or when you come to a stop sign, or when you come to a place that says yield, you yield, you let other people in. That's what government is. That's what democracy is. Democracy is just supposed to be the functioning of how we go about having stability so that everyone get to go home safely. When I say safely, I'm talking about life now. It's a metaphor for life. Everyone gets to pursue their happiness, whatever that might be. Okay. So we make rules based on that. What we have in Liberia is what we call a representative democracy. So there are two types of democracy you can have. The first form of democracy is what they call direct democracy. That is when regular citizens get to vote on everything. How fast we should go, what's a crime, how much time people should spend in jail, what should be considered, when should kids go to school, anything, what we should spend on, should we build a new school, everyone gets a vote on that. Anything that's major that's going to use public fund, everyone votes on it. That's direct democracy. Everyone gets to vote all the time. Well, that's not the most efficient thing to do when people have lives and jobs and pursuing other interests. So Liberia has borrowed from the United States, and other countries have since followed what's called direct representative democracy, which is we pick people, we call them lawmakers. Those people are supposed to study the issues and then make decisions that falls in the same line that is best for everybody. Democracy. With that being said, there are some responsibilities of the regular citizens, even though they are not making the direct rules, right? Um, they have to be able to, first, they have to participate. What do they mean by participate? A, they have to select the person or those people that are going to make the rules based on criteria that's best for the country. Okay. They must select those people. They must hold those people accountable. Once they select those people, that means they must participate in voting. In voting, those people who are voting have to make informed decisions. That means you just don't vote because the man's from your tribe or he's from the party that you like. You vote on, does this man have the qualifications to make the decisions that's going to affect my life and my neighbor's life? The best qualified, right? Because we live in a republic, and republic, the idea of a republic came from Plato. Plato's republic was just people he called philosopher kings. What he was saying was just smart people making decisions. So if we take that into society, you don't necessarily need a philosopher king. If you have smart people for making the decision for those who lead us, you will always pick the best possible people. So the general public responsibility A is to participate. B is to inform themselves as to what's best for the country and who's best for the country. And if you don't have an informed citizenry,
Peter, can you emphasize that again? You said best for the country, not individual. Best for the country, correct? Yeah, re-emphasize that, please.
Yeah. So in a representative democracy, in all democracy, the goal is the greater good of the country, of everyone. Because without that, you have wars, you have unhappiness. And the purpose of life and everything is just people pursuing their happiness, whatever make them happy, without hurting other people. So when you do things that is not best for everyone and is selfish, it breaks down society structures. This is when you have wars, neighbors fighting neighbors and killing each other. You have unhappiness, you have desperation, you have strife, you have despair when you don't have that, right? So you need to pick people who literally thinks about the greater good, what's best for the country, what's there to help each and everybody. Yes, you can't make everyone happy, but the greater good, what's the majority of people, what will make them happy? And those who are in the minority, what can we do to cater to them? Okay, we need to pick people who think along those lines, and not just because they're from your religion, they're from your tribe or your county, or you know them, or they're going to give you jobs. Anything outside of thinking of the greater good creates problems, like some of the problems that we see in Liberia now. Okay, so yeah, democracy is a system of government that we all should participate. And how are you supposed to vote on anything, on schooling, if you don't understand what type of schooling there are, what type would be best? So you need to inform yourself. How are you supposed to vote on what a nation is supposed to invest in, or pick someone who's going to make the best investments if you yourself haven't thought about it? This is why Western countries, but especially America, in the late 1800s, they started public schools. It was not because they want to waste money. It's because they know that the more informed that people are, the better decisions they will make. And when you make good decisions, it benefits the whole country. America invests heavily in um, um, foundational education for that reason, because it props up their country. And when that falls, the countries fall. So it's not just America. Every other nation that has escaped poverty, they heavily invest in education, because you need to inform people. Those informed people are the ones who are going to drive the country, who are going to lift the country, who are going to compete in the name of the country. So yeah, democracy is something that everyone needs to participate in, but they also need to be informed.
So then let's ask this question. What do you need to be present to have what you call a minimum? that is required for one to have a functioning democracy?
Well, there are pillars that need to be present, right? There are a few things that needs to be present to have a functioning democracy. First, you need to have the rule of law, respect in the rule of law. That just means, here's how I'll explain it. For us to avoid accidents, we need to make rules. We need to say cars on this side, all the cars on this side going that way, must go in that direction. The other cars on the side must go in the other direction. You cannot cross over here. When you guys come to a four-way stop, everyone needs to stop. When you see this light, you got to stop. That's the first thing you need. You need rules to make sure everybody's safe and able to carry on their days safely, right? And happy. All right. So you need a rule of law, a societal rule of law. Okay. The second thing you need is, I just talked about it. You need an informed populace. You need
What
people
that
who,
means, what that mean, informed populace.
yeah. So you need people who are going to make decisions based on understanding what is being decided on. I'll give you an example. We are building an overpass bridge right now. Just broke grounds for an overpass bridge in Liberia. I don't know how many millions that's going to cost. What I do know is this, and I'm not a government person. I know that whatever millions that's being spent on that bridge could go into other things that generate money, that bring in money into the country. Being an informed citizen just means that I know how, I've heard and read and got educated on how other nations did it. They didn't spend on stuff like overpass bridges first. They figured out how to generate money from outside the country to bring money in. So the little bit of money they had, they invested in schooling first because that's the next generation. You got to get them ready. They invested into healthcare delivery because you need a healthy citizens because those are going to be the workers. You can't have them sick. And then they invested in what they call an export economy. That's what they did, right? So they did things that would help the country move forward. They didn't buy uh, $1.5 million cars. They didn't do that. Okay, they didn't build themselves mansions. Um, they didn't build parks first. They didn't do things like that. They did things that would return money, but the money that's going to be returned is foreign money. Okay, money from outside sources to come into the country. So having an informed populace, there'll be an outrage right now on why we spending the money on that and what else can we spend the money on? Only because the population knows how other people have done it and will hold the government accountable to get them to explain why is this the best use of our money at this time. So that's the second thing that needs to happen. You must have an informed populace. The population must be informed because they have to hold accountable the government. Okay. The next thing you have to have is you have to have jobs. People have to be able to take care of their family. They can't be desperate because when you're desperate, it's like going shopping when you're hungry. You can't, you're not going to make the best decision. You're going to be buying snacks because you're hungry. So that's why it's not advisable to go shopping, grocery shopping when you're hungry. Okay. So you can't have desperate people making decisions. That means the government has to create jobs outside of government, private sector jobs, so people don't have to kiss the feet of people who were elected. This is where the diaspora comes in. Yes, Andy, I know you want to come in. Let me just land on this. In Liberia, there aren't too many jobs, right? There aren't too many opportunities for people to work in the private sector. So I can see where the desperation is. I can see why you can't say certain things, where you have to kiss certain people's butt. We, the Liberians, with the green and blue passports, okay, we are not desperate. So I put so much of the responsibility on our laps because we can hold the government accountable because it can't hurt us. Those people can't. To an extent, they can because we've seen what's happened when you try to. So we must hold the government accountable. Okay. So people cannot be desperate. You must have jobs. Okay. So that's the third thing you need to make sure you have a democracy. Yes, you have to have citizen participation. We talk about that. If people are not voting, they don't care about voting, then you don't have a democracy. Okay. And there was still yet one more thing that is very, very important to have. You need social welfare programs. What do I mean by social welfare programs? Again, you need desperation eliminators. That means when people are hungry, there are social services they can go to get food. They don't have to be so reliant on the government. When people are sick, can they go someplace where they're going to get taken care of, even though they don't have money? Okay, so people aren't desperate. You need desperation eliminators. Okay, if you don't have these things, it's just these 4 or 5 things I just mentioned, Yasendi, you don't quite have a democracy. However, the things that are needed for that to happen, us in the diaspora have access to. So we have no excuses. Okay, we are privy with information. We aren't desperate. We care to participate in our government. We have safety net. We don't need to be reliant on the government. And we have understood the rule of law. Those 5 things we can do. So we have a greater responsibility because of the position we are put in to make sure that things and the people that are elected are doing what's best for the general public.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. I know we were coming into where we are of the road of the diaspora, but I wanted for you to expand on when you talk about export economy, because right now we're import economy, meaning literally everything we do, we import. So, but explain to us, let's compare and contrast a little bit, just maybe in about 3 minutes, in the simplest possible form.
Okay, so here's what an export economy is. And this is, if you see Donald Trump saying he's going to put tariffs, not just saying putting tariff on the entire world, there is a method to that madness. I'm not saying that's the best thing to do, right? There is some brashness to it, and lack of empathy is not the word I'm looking for. You know, it's kind of crass and authoritarian, but every country has to sell their market. That's the best way I can explain it. Every country has to sell their market. The country has to turn into a business. If you aren't selling your market, where's the money coming from? You can't be taking money from your kids that go hustle in the streets, or their uncle give them money, you take some of it, instead of you getting a job or finding another means of income as a parent or as a leader. So an export economy is simply, what does the country have that they can sell to the world on an industrial scale? Industrial scale just means mass production, something that makes a lot of money, okay, or a significant amount of money that they can sell to the world consistently, that will bring money into the country. What does your country have? And it can't be just your natural resources. Companies talk about diversifying commodities, right? Commodities just means your cocoa, your pepper, your orange, your banana, your gold, your natural resources, right? So it can't just be those things, right? Because those things are subject to ebbs and flows. The prices go up at times, and at times the prices fall on those things, right? So you need something that you believe the world needs or wants. What is that thing? If you look at Singapore, let's start with South Korea. They they looked at who's in their country was producing things, and Samsung started with it was a farming company.
Yep.
They went from the farm and then went into manufacturing and went to iron ore and started making ships. And we have a lot of resources, way more resources than these people. And I don't want to always be labeled or talk about other people, other people. We have things that we can do if we have visionary leaders. These people looked at their popular, and that's why I mentioned Singapore. Singapore said, okay, we don't have enough people to have a local microeconomy. So we need to sell things outside the country. We need money coming in. For the standard of living we want, we need more money. And we can't make it just within. So what can we sell to the world? Okay, we can do wigs, we can do fans, we can do this started really small. Okay. So when I said export economy, the intelligent people, there are so many brilliant people in Liberia. They have to come up with a thing or a few things that we could sell to the world. Outside, I know one of the smart ANC people is like, let's say Kisawa. Like, anyway, I'm not going to get on him today. Something that the world needs, something that we can sell over time, that you have looked at over time that everyone's going to need. Okay, there's nothing wrong with selling spices or selling cassava, but something on an industrial scale, there are so many more things we can do. Okay, sell something. Okay, am I frozen?
No, we are listening to you.
Okay, sell something to the world that will bring in income daily. Okay, I mean monthly. So that's what we need. When I say actual economy, it's actually very simple to understand. Just what can Liberia or Liberians have or sell that the world will want or could want that we can do. And there are so many things outside of our diamonds and our gold that is being drastically exploited. Drastically. And those are finite resources that could run out. So what can we sell? There are so many things we can sell and do, including our human capital, right? Our brilliant athletes, our brilliant minds. There's so much we can give to the world that will give us something in return. That's all I mean by export economy, something that we can give to the world and get money in and get capital in return for. You're muted.
Good. So let me come in here a little bit, Peter. Thank you so much for the expose, for that explanation in regards to where we are. Export, at this as it stands, we spend most of our income on ordering stuff. Like for instance, today, I and for us to forge forward, for us to build a nation to last, number one, we must be transparent. The voice of the people must be heard in democracy. Okay, the people should be represented. Although America is also a representative democracy. Okay, but when we send our lawmakers to the Congress, to the local house, the General Assembly, or to the Congress, whatever that is coming in the pipeline, that's why they come back and they talk to the population. That's why they publish these things so the nation can be aware of these things, right? Now, you cannot, especially if you're making major decision that's going to impact the nation, it cannot be unilateral. It cannot be that you just go and you're going into a caucus and you decide, okay, this is what it's going to be, and the people are going to accept. The reason you're thinking the people are going to accept, because the populace is not as informed as it needs to be informed. That's number one. Okay. Our Constitution, Article 6 of the Constitution, mandate education. as a primary, in fact, as a constitutional right. Okay. Uh, um, I've just lost my train of thought because I have to put the talk to somebody else on the side. It's required as a constitutional right. Education, okay. It says in a particular article 6, if you study it, it's based on the responsibility that the citizens have to perform, which is voting, which is electing their leader, people that will lead the nation. It's essential. In fact, it's compulsory that mass education is put in place. So that should be a part of the agenda of any leader for that matter. Because like Peter said, if we are not informed, if we are desperate, we cannot make concrete decision or decision that will impact the nation to force the nation forward. As we are seeing, we are getting frustrated. Those of us who are living around the world, even those of us who live around the world, who are supposed to be informed, because a lot of us who are living in other people's country, that other people citizens in other people's country, we have to study the civil structure, okay, to vote, right, Peter? We have to take exams, okay, to know that we understand our function, our responsibility, what's the duty, okay, and what's a service to the nation. So Liberia has the same, but it has to be for the government to enforce that. For me, as an educator, by the time my kids get to 8th grade, okay, they should at least know their right and responsibility, okay, what is legal, what is illegal, okay, before they get to their mid-teens, all right? So now let's come back here. We're talking about exporting. What do we have? What can we produce in mass? What do Liberia have? Liberia used to ship seafood and supply most of the European country. It was a multi-million, if not billion-dollar industry. Do we still have that? Yes, we do. But what we've done is we have relinquished. We don't want to work. Okay, we as a citizen, we do want to work, but the leadership that we have chosen, one a fast play, one get rich quick. This is not to a particular government. Let me just say to y'all, because people will come and start cussing, and people will come here and say, "Oh, the other person didn't do it. That other person was doing it. People did the same thing." It does not matter at this point. We are where we are because of the choices we've made over time. Okay. Now, what do we have at this point that we can invest in? We have timber, we have gold, we have diamond, we have iron ore, we have vast marine life that is needed around the world. But guess what we do? Today, I saw a post that said, because of the president bilateral agreement in Japan and in China, they just sent us certain ton of rice. That is inaccurate. That is embarrassing. If we are logical people, we will not even talk about that. We have more land than China. We have more land than Japan. Japan is a what? I mean, I'm talking Africa as a whole. Japan is an island nation. Why are we getting donation for rice, something that is our staple food? Why are we getting that? But guess what? When we give these things to them, they come into our sea and take our most valuable marine lives. So Peter, I'm gonna just open it and leave it right here. How can we invest into that? How can we invest into that? There's a market for it. There's a market for fish on the market. There's a market for shark. There's a market for, even for us Liberians that live around the world. We pay, and I bought a little fish about less than this size, Peter, $25. A little fish like that. That's the whole industry. That's a whole industry right there. Shrimp, crab, you think about it.
No, so a few years back, one of the reasons why Henry Costa, part of the reason why I dislike him so much is just,
Oh my God.
it just No, I'm
Go
just
ahead,
being
Peter.
honest.
Yeah.
I'm being
I know you
honest.
like to speak your mind. Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well,
Yes.
like who is like you guys? You're so funny. Anyway, Henry Costa exposed a fish contract, right?
Oh yeah.
That um, where we signed a contract. We allow these dredging ships from China just come and just soup up our fish, right? Um, and first of all, one of our blessings is we're on the coast, right? We have
Yeah.
water, right? And he exposed this. When I say I don't like him, is that okay? If you expose that, what's the intent behind it, right? Because I felt like that was major,
I don't get it though. Yeah. Go ahead, Peter.
right? That was major. You can't give up your your fish. That's like giving up your gold, like we still do. You don't sell things like that. You can't show us now how Liberia is benefiting because they allow people off our coast to come and dredge, scrape the bottom of our ocean to take our fish. How's the regular kids, the pimping boys, how are they benefiting from that? Or kids who are mothers that sell in the market. Okay. Um, and I have to be clear when I say I didn't like him because of that. No, I like the fact that he exposed it. I don't like the fact that he didn't use that as a leverage for the government to give you money, right?
Right.
And then you're silent.
Then
The
you
same
stop.
thing, yeah, that's my issue with it. The same thing with Katie Meyer, right? Katie Meyer was a woman who came into our country,
Yep.
presided over molesting and HIV infesting our babies, our children, and because of whatever agreement you make, and people are listening to you because you did expose something and you did expose a few things that people really cared about, didn't know.
hmm
You sided with them, and that woman left, and our kids still have AIDS.
Right.
You're a despicable person for doing that. Okay, so my dislike is the integrity. We don't. He's a man, and I'm a man. We're around. I think I'm older than him, but it doesn't matter. You don't get to sit in our circle of men and say anything outside of that. Okay. So what I'm saying is we have a government. This was Ellen's government that's giving away our fish. There are so many. If you are trying to be in government, you have to be an innovator and a visionary and a thinker. You have to think of ways that we can benefit from that without you doing it. You talked about just fish. You talked about gold, diamond. I take it a step further. That's not what even modern. There are so many countries that don't have. Liberia should be a rich country. There's so
Very.
many. There's so many countries that don't have our natural resources. And
Yes.
still
I
manage
agree.
still manage to be extremely wealthy. So that means you should literally have a bunch of billionaires and millionaires in that small country. Why? Because of just the riches of natural resources. Here's what I mean: sovereign wealth fund. You
Yeah.
don't need to sell any of your natural resources. You can literally open businesses. This is what I'm saying about
Yep.
being an innovator and a thinker. You could. There are Liberians living in Australia. There are Liberians living in New Zealand. There are Liberians
Yep.
living all the Southeast Asian nation countries. There are Liberians living in Western Europe.
hmm
Okay, there are Liberians in Eastern Europe. There are Liberians in South America. Here's the point I'm making: a sovereign wealth fund is a business run. It's like a propped up business run by the country. Because we have so many Liberians, brilliant Liberians everywhere, we can literally have bought buildings when the market crashed. We could have taken $100 million and bought buildings in New York City. We could have bought real estate everywhere. We could have opened a car dealership. We can use the diasporan Liberians to bring in money in the country and have these people paid taxes on the loans that were given to them and generate so much money. Doesn't have to spend a penny of our natural resources. Okay, for the money that we're using. There are so many things we can do. We can get involved in shipping. We can literally turn the country. I'm not here to tell them what to do. I'm I'm on their coach, but I know what we do with coaching is we find a way to win. No one wants to hear your excuses. You find a way to win. You figure out other avenues to win. We can literally have so many opportunities to generate money. When it comes to someone making the country, bringing the budget to $1 billion, that's a joke. We can literally have a $20 billion budget.
Oh yeah.
It's on little Liberia. Okay, he was being conservative so that if he had one, they can't say you didn't get it to $1 billion. We can get to $1 billion in blinking our eyes. Are you trying to talk, y'all, because you're muted? Okay. Yeah, we could there are so many things we can do. We just don't have the right leadership. So leadership, the people we're picking matters. And I want to go back to what we're saying. I don't want to be all over the place. I want to talk about the responsibility of the diaspora and Liberians, the responsibility of debates. Let's talk about what's the best idea. We don't live in Liberia. We live in other people's country that came about by constructive arguments, right? These people has constructive debates and their country moved forward because of it. What's best for our country? Too many people are practicing political dogma or political dogmatism, right? That is, you support a party because you support the party, not because you can articulate what's best about that person compared to other ideas to move our country forward, to cater to our people, to take care of our people. Okay. So yes, no, yes, Cindy, it's not just with the natural resources, which we have in abundance. That alone should make us multi billions, right? Other avenues we can take by tapping into the intellect, intelligence, the innovations of Liberians. But no, these people are so afraid of people coming in because their jobs, their little jobs that they make $4,000 a year, they play scare politics. They think they're going to lose their jobs, and if the less smart people win, they're not going to have any money. No, there's going to be more money in the pot for more people. Okay, our Liberians should be competing with foreigners who own those hotels and grocery stores and hardware stores. Okay, and only the government can do the heavy lifting. If you have an intentional government, we don't have that. You're muted again, Yasendi.
Smith, I'm not sure if you and I have seen two different things, because what I'm looking at is the role of Liberian diaspora. So I'm not sure if they're showing he, maybe the T is, you can't see it, but I can see the T. So I'm not sure where the T is. Okay, I will look and see. I will look at the YouTube video and see what is it saying, because it said, even the YouTube, it said the THE, the role of Liberian diaspora. But thank you for your input, though. Thank you. That means you're watching out for us. Thank you, Peter, that you just said most of these things. But here's also it is, though. China, America, when you have an idea, that's why America put their grants for small businesses, because small businesses are the engine that drives America, the United States. Okay, if you look at the statistics, over 60% of the job created in the United States or more, they are created by small businesses. Those are the ones who they're holding the ground. They're not big corporation. Okay, so how do we do that? There's literally not funds, Peter, to give out to Liberians, and there's not a structure, even if they were to do that, to follow up. So you come on and say, for instance, a few days they said they have a few $1 million to give to Liberian businesses. Those millions, they're going to go to the people right in the government. They're going to go ahead, they will set up fictitious profile in businesses, because they know the loop, how they can get it. and they will borrow it to themselves. Remember when the 2017 election was coming and the UP government were leaving, and the money that the what do you call it, Mill Jones, the small business loan that they've had, you have all of these government officials or those who are connected here in a cookie jar, some of them to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you could not locate where their businesses were. Nobody to identify where their business, but they were giving this money because they knew somebody, or because they were connected, or because they. In fact, as we speak, Gafuanto $80,000 never paid, and when he was being confirmed, when he came up for this position, people were asking, has he paid the money? Okay, so for Liberia to forge forward, you cannot prioritize foreigners over Liberian. You know, I want to play this, Peter. Let's look at this. And you talk about leadership. What is the goal? What is the vision of the leader? Where does the leader want to take us? Because as it stands, where Liberia is, it would take the vision of the leader. You know, I was watching a documentary from Ivory Coast that a researcher went to do in Ghana. Okay, and they were saying in Ivory Coast, before they build a community, they have to run a water line, they have to run the electricity line before a community is put up. It's the same thing here, because those are major things that you need for survivor. But I don't know where Peter is. But let me play this. Let me play this really quickly so we can see where we are. Hopefully I can see. Oh, Peter, I wanted to talk about this rape case with this guy. This rape case with this guy. I wanted to talk about this rape case with this guy. I really do. But I want you to listen to this guy right here. This Saudi Prince, when he was interviewed in the early 90s. Okay, that's what I want to play. I want to play this really quickly. A vision of a man who wants to take a nation somewhere. From the desert kingdom. I'm going to play this, and then I will play another video, and then we can look at it. Here we go, Peter.
What are you trying to do here? What do you want this place to be?
I want it to be number one. Not in the region, but in the world.
What do you mean number one in the world?
In everything. High education, health, housing, just making my people the highest way of living.
Why do you want everything to be the biggest, the tallest?
Steve, why not? Why not? If you can have it in New York, what can we have it here?
Why are you in such a hurry? Most people would try and do all of this in a lifetime, not in 5 years.
Most people, yes, but not us. I want my people to live better life now, to go to the high school now, to go to the good healthcare now. Not after 20 years.
What are you trying to do here? What do you want this place to be?
That is the Southern Prince in the early 90s when he laid out his vision.
Yeah, so let me step in with that, right? Two things in that video that's so compelling. The first thing is, listen to how he's talking. I want my people to have the highest standard of living in the world. Being one person, it's not just vision, y'all. It is ultimate altruism. That's like saying I want my kids to have the best.
The best, yes. Yes, yes.
Name one leader that the popular leader. I'm so proud that I support a person that took 1%. Here's
Me too.
why. The people who got 99.999%. When have they said, my goal is to have Liberians live in modern homes and earn money to take care of their family. That's the only thing I care. And then the guy pushed back and say, why? This takes forever. Giving him
Yes.
this guy an excuse. And the man says, Why not? You
Yep.
know who else has said what not to? They said that to South Korea.
South
You
Korea,
can't do
Singapore.
steel.
Yes.
You can't
Yep.
invest in steel. You're gonna fail. Other people have tried it, they've failed. We're not even gonna give you money because it's a waste of money. They say, you know what, we would do it. We got to figure it out. And Yasendi, because I am a builder and a creator of teams, I only take over teams that have been in the dirt. People who are into finance called venture capitalism.
Venture
It's
capital.
not. It's a little different. Venture capitalists are vultures. They weaken companies and take over. But like restorers, that's the term I'm looking for. People who restore old homes or cars. Why do you want to restore that car? You could just go buy a new car. Because it makes me happy. Why do you want to build that team? You can just, you're Peter Quayle. You can go and get at a place that have all these. It makes me happy to see them come from nothing to something. It makes me happy. There's something about that, right? I got interviewed by the newspaper a couple of years ago, and I talked about that, right? It makes me, it does something to me. That's what that guy sounds like. It makes him happy that his people living standard is going to be improved.
Has been improved.
The white guy said, well, it's going to take the white guy said, well, it takes a lifetime for that to happen. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't have to. That's because, white guy, you haven't thought about it long and hard enough. That's a man who was intentional and understood it because he studied it. And then what did he name when he said standard of living? Healthcare, school.
Yes.
Okay.
Highest education. Yes, he did. He did.
Education. He named the things that matters. Those are things he said we should be number one in. He didn't come and say, "Oh, I want us to have cars." And no, we are going to be the best. He didn't say we're going to be good. He said we're going to be number one. It makes him happy. That's a team player. That's the type of leader we need. Name one person that we have that our people love and like that talks like that and literally have a plan that he can articulate or argue or debate in any nuanced detail on how he'll accomplish that. Name one. The onus goes back to the lapse of diasporans, right? You're lucky to get a visa to leave Liberia. So now, because you got a visa to leave Liberia, you're in other people's country talking nonsense and give them bad leaders, horrible, non-thinking, selfish people. You're giving to our people. Why you sit in someone else's country and not think about the person I just picked, how they're going to move the nation forward. And how do you know that? I support them because I can explain to you what he said to me, and I can explain to you why it will work. Horrible people we're picking to lead us because of political dogma. The onus is on the laps of the diaspora in Liberia.
Okay, Peter. So we're going to take a few more minutes to finish up here. Guys, we have come, we explained to you, at least I think it's civic, a little bit of civic, our function of our type of government. We said is democracy. We said we need to be present for a nation to be considered a democracy. What type of democracy do we have? And how can our democracy flourish? What is required, minimum requirement for it to flourish or for it to be effective? Okay. We talked about that. Peter expand on what is required. We talk about the responsibility of the government and we, the citizen, responsibility, why our people vote the way they vote. Okay. But something pressing that I need to talk about. I can't go without talking about this. Peter, and I talked to you guys about the floating information that because the president went to China or to Japan, that's the reason why they send us rice. If you just go and Google yourself, because this is all of these things are captured, right? You will know 2018, we got rice from China, from Japan. 2019, 2020, 2023, 2024. They gave us the rice because we don't know how to plant rice, because we don't want to work, because we don't want to roll off our sleeves. Let me tell you something. It's just like if you leave Liberia and come to America. If you want to be successful, if you want to live a good life, you got to, if you don't have the education, you will have to enroll and get the education, or you will have to work hard. Even if you get the education and you want to keep a certain lifestyle, you still have to work hard. You have to put in the time. You have to put in not just the intelligence. You need to acquire the knowledge for you to be able to do that. So it's either we're going to brain work or hard work, whichever work, physical work. So one of those we have to give for you to do that. Okay. The Hispanic come to the United States. They work hard. They work hard. Those who do not speak English, maybe they work on farms, maybe they get into construction. And these are some of the hardest working people. Okay. They send the most money to the country. They live together. Here, when you come here, you know, Peter, the other day I went, I told you I have a family medical issue, and I went to one of the biggest hospitals here. I told you that the head of surgery there, who is a neurosurgeon, is a Liberian refugee that came to this country, Dr. Masoul. I'm really proud of. I like to mention his name all the time. And then when I look, I'm on the board of director, and then I saw my doctor. He's the only black man among all the white faces. Okay, and it did something to me. Know that this is not his country. He's a Nigerian, by the way. I've had him for over 20 years, and most of my family go to him, and he's not too far from me. Okay. So he came from Nigeria. He's African. Okay. Then my father, there's a black face. Until he speaks to you, until you know who he is, we now know he's a Nigerian. He's a black man. It's just that when somebody see you, until even you change your accent, you're just another black man. Until you say I'm a Liberian, correct? Especially when you start talking your Siran or Siri, okay? Nobody will know when you are in your element. Just like my kids, when they're in their element, until they switch their voice or their tune, you will never know. Now, what am I saying?
It's called code switching, Yasendi. That one part, we can do it.
Whatever, man. So my point here is, for us to build the nation that is worthwhile, you just heard the leader. Okay. And because he was in charge, this man, they put money into education, not only in education, because he wanted his nation to be a tourist destination. That was another way to create jobs besides the oil. And you heard Peter said, let's not talk about the extraction. Let's not talk about the diamond. Let's not talk about it. But he invested in a nation. Okay. They don't have to borrow money from nobody. We just talk about Ethiopia, all right, that they have all of the sanctions in the world. They're not running from state to state. If you spend $1 million to go to Japan, to go beg for $20 million, why? And you have to pay with that with interest. Then the next week you're in China. The next week you're in Singapore. Okay? If you're doing what you're supposed to do and the people know you can pay, they will bring that to you. It will come to your door. But we have everything. If the most thing that we import is food, the next thing is cars. We don't need cars. We don't need to import food. I see you are giving people 4,000, 40,000. How about we do audit? How about we do resource audit? How about we do material audits? Okay. How about we do that this guy in Burkina Faso is doing? Instead of taking the money given to people where I inventing fake farms and projects, bring the equipment for farming. Have an overseer. They sign it in, the location is delivered to that location. Somebody is going around and looking for it. Let's see. Let's give you a timeline. In the next 1 year, we want to be providing at least quarter of our food that we eat. In 2 years, we want to at least produce 50% of our food. And then we start taking it from there. All right. But let me place this, Peter, because there is an issue here about a government official who is a deputy minister, I think you've heard, who raped a 14-year-old little girl Everybody have been talking about it. We heard the head of Women Children Protection in Liberia, who said she got the report sent August, but she never spoke about it. And because of what turn it has taken, she's talking. The guy is still at work, and the guy is still walking around. Okay. If they were a regular everyday person, that person would be behind bar. Okay. Even a minimum, suspend him. And there's a video out there on the guy going to beg. I don't get it, because these people, Peter, I don't get it. In no way in America that a man will rip somebody 14-year-old child and go to his house to go beg the family. You would be in the morgue. But I'm not trying to encourage violence. Let me play this. Listen up. And then we can, maybe if you have something else to close on, then we can close on that. That's what I want to talk about. Here it is. Liberian people, you'll listen up.
Of Police Susie T. Tele, head of the Women and Children Protection Section of the Liberian National Police. I bring you this statement in response to a matter that has generated significant public attention and concern. On August 30th, 2025, the Liberian National Police received a formal complaint alleging the sexual abuse of a 14-year-old minor. The accused in this case is Mr. J. Bryant McGill, Deputy Minister for Youth Development at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Given the sensitive nature of this allegation and the involvement of a public official, we fully recognize the gravity of the situation and the public's call for transparency. Let it be clear, an investigation is actively ongoing. The case has been referred to the Women and Children Protection Section at the Liberian National Police Headquarters, and we are working in close coordination with the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Sex Crimes Unit at the Ministry of Justice, and relevant forensic and social service teams. To date, we have conducted interviews with key individuals, reviewed surveillance footage, and taken steps to ensure the safety and well-being of the victim. The suspect has availed himself for questioning, and additional investigative actions are currently underway.
I'm going to stop here, Peter. Why is he walking around? Why is he still in his position? What's your thought?
Yeah, well, I have just so many thoughts going through my head with that. First thing first, I work with children, and that what he did and what he's accused of doing, it bothers my soul so much, and here is why. When you work with children, these kids are, it's not even that you don't even have to work with children. There are people who look at other people's children. And this really, I've always worked with children, even when I was in college. But once I started having my own kids, you see the empathy, you see your child in their faces. And the one thing that a parent, it didn't hit me until I started having children, that we look to protect our children. Something bad happened, we feel like, well, I wasn't there to protect them. That's the guilt. I don't even want my kid falling in the backyard and scraping his knee, right? So I hug and I'll give him hugs, I give him kisses. And when a guy who's supposed to be working with children within the government, he's being affectionate to a child, and because he's a man, because he's a vile man, it affects everybody else who don't and wouldn't do that to a child. So now it's like hearing a teacher raped a child. Now every teacher is looked at like, are you one of those? That's the first thing. That is gross. Second thing, right? I don't want to sound crass, but people who molest children or sleep with children, they sleep with children. That makes you have to have to even sexualize a child, there has to be something wrong with you. Okay.
Mentally,
When I say
yeah.
something wrong, I'm not trying to be mean here, but there has to be a mental illness for you to see a baby, right? A 14-year-old, and take your clothes off and want to sexually pleasure yourself with a baby, right? I don't believe that could be cured. Okay.
No.
From all indications, this is why a murderer don't have to go around for the rest of their life registering and saying there's a murderer next door. But you know who has to do that?
Sex offenders.
Sex offenders, child molesters, okay, and rapists. You know why? Because that raping or molesting a child makes them happy. So when you ask why is he still walking around, that is a major problem. Because if what he, first of all, this is what he got caught doing. How many others? Because it's never the first one when they get caught, right?
Right.
And anyone, again, having an informed populace, right? If you know anything about child molestation and how it affects a rape, how it affects the psyche of a person, the victim, like this man is literally destroying lives to pleasure himself. That's what that is. I believe these people need to be chemically castrated, period. Because I don't believe there's any rehabilitation to it. There are studies that show that their reoffending ability is as high as anything, and that's who they are. So the second thing is he needs to be chemically castrated after he goes through due process. Okay, coming to the child's house to beg his parents. First of all, it shouldn't be on the parents anymore. If you have
exactly, Peter. Exactly. Explain that. I keep explaining that.
Yeah.
It should not be the parents, because the parents have already reported it. So why are we saying, oh, the parent compromise? It's supposed to be the state now who takes over. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, but that's why we have a state, right? That's a crime against society. The crime is not against the kid. It was against the kid, but you committed. This is what felonies are. You can't go and say, okay, we're going to forgive him. No, this is not your family matter anymore. So he shouldn't be allowed to even have any contact with this child or the parents. And the parents can say, we don't want to persecute. We don't want to pursue it. It doesn't matter what the parents say.
It does not matter what the parents say at this point. Yes, exactly, Peter. Exactly.
It's a crime against the state. And the last thing I want to touch on that is just this governmental, it has to be someone who has some political clout. He got some people to vote. This governmental privilege that he has, that it's okay to, again, I go back to Katie Meyer, right? Whatever Ellen connection she had with Ellen, maybe they're all lesbians together. Maybe I didn't say it was. After this, they were doing, for that woman to rape our children and then leave, for anyone to have crimes against children, and they just act like it's no big deal. It's so disgusting. It is so vile. So vile that it is unspeakable. That man, whatever the reason he's walking around is because he's part of the same reason why the lady who murdered that little girl, okay, that 21-year-old, 22-year-old girl, she's home now. Musu Scott, right? So again, this is why you need a country with a rule of law. This is why you need real leaders now. You need fathers of the nation. This is why you need men and women with integrity to make decisions for us. That guy should not be contacting the family. He should not be walking around. I believe that sexual offenders, especially towards children, child molesters, should be castrated, chemically castrated. That's the most humane thing you can do to them and for society. It is absolutely disgusting. It's disturbing that that's the society we have, and there's no outrage about that. What's the outrage?
Exactly.
The outrage was.
You see, Peter, that's a hypocrisy, though. There is no.
Yeah, but let me land on this, Sandy.
Let me land
on this, and I know you want to come in.
Yes, go ahead.
There was an
Yes.
outrage because a beauty queen messed up the national anthem. That was a major case in the country. Or she said, "Oh, Liberia's independence is 2 years later, or whatever." First of all, Liberia, they have two independence. Your school system failed you. Even if she didn't mean that, Liberia, they have two independence. Look into it. Number one, and number two, all we look for in Liberia is to do gotcha and to step on and spit on each other when you need to speak up. When a child is the victim, you guys don't care. You care about what CC Maintain is doing, okay, with Richmond. You don't care that a baby got her fingers cut off. This is where I literally like going in their house, like, and just look for the confrontation because we're hypocrites. The things that matters, the type of person we elect that's destroying lives, where our women are dying giving birth to children, or they go to hospitals, there's no medication, but the hospital staff have their own drugstore with the conflict of interest. You have all those going on, no outrage, but you want to be selective outrage. A little girl life just got destroyed. She's 14 years old.
Yeah.
This crocodile frog looking thing molested her, allegedly.
Yeah.
We just move on, carry on like there's no big deal. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was saying how the hypocrisy, the things that we don't prioritize. A woman asked a stupid question. I remember the very woman who came on when Mr. Cummings appeared on the show and said, "Oh, that true they say you're gay," although the man had already told her he was answering the question. She came, but that's not what they say. The people say you are. She asked a stupid question, and Dr. Richardson told her, I said it was a stupid question. And she came under my post the other day. They were outraged. Liberian people want people to go apologize for a 14-year-old is raped by this dude. Peter, I'm going to show the dude, and I'm not going to say anything. You can close, okay? This dude, this old dude, okay? A child, somebody's child, okay? And Liberians have no problem with that, no outrage about that. All right, here it is. Talking to the family, he went to the family house to talk to them, Peter. He went to them to talk to them. Can you imagine the audacity? That's it.
I don't know if for yesterday he came and he saw me and said, "Oh, my man, I can never do that to your daughter. And never ever. But I want you to forget it. I'm sorry for what I did." Well, I said, "No, I just want you to know if you forget about that. I'm sorry for what happened, but it's not me." He sweat and said that. Because of
No, I don't really want to listen to this, Peter. I'm done. It's just it's sickening. And this is literally history repeating itself. Yes.
I don't want to hear his voice. It's like I don't hear his voice. Again, these are the people, and I don't want to overgeneralize, but our generations before this generation of new type of hopefully new thinking people, they have filled our country on so many levels. That old man even still lying, still trying to apologize. There's certain things you can't apologize for.
No,
you can't unring that bell. Molesting kid, you don't get to say I'm sorry about that. That's done. So it is just this impunity because someone's part of government. We need to have a responsible government. And my closing would be, I put the onus back on the people who are on this live, who will come later on to watch this, right? We need to make sure that first of all, we need to know that we are the government.
Yep,
it's not some entity out there, some dust out there. We are the government, right? And if we can't convince our people that we're sending money back to, that we need to examine the type of people you're putting a level for, you're voting for, then we need to just stop talking. These are not the type of people that should be leading us. We don't have a president that should be a president. He would be a poor man if it not for giving him our money from the government. You don't need we cannot have a person like that lead. The country, all they're going to do is make excuses and lie about every single thing. Okay. We need to be more intentional about the people we select. We need to stop with the fake outrage of things that don't matter. They call that Vicky, whatever her name is, or Jackie. Someone called her stupid. Well, that was a dumb question. I think she's not a smart person. It doesn't matter. You're more outraged at words than someone being called stupid. But the same UP government that supported Prophet Key describing a woman private parts in every single violation, and you guys in that party pays him now, have him on payroll. And I don't mind him saying that. I'm gonna tell you that right now. My issue is don't be a hypocrite. And when you see hypocrisy in our community, especially when it has something to do with something that can affect the lives of all of our family members, please speak up. Don't be a coward. Thank you so much, Yasin, for this conversation.
Thank you, Peter, for availing yourself to be here. Guys, we'll be back Sunday next week. We're trying to be consistent to build back the platform. Thank you for those of you who tune in. Please, by all means, share the video. We're still working on the radio in Liberia. We will be on, so we're working on that. Thank you so much again for tuning in. You have a good day. God bless.